Power rankings are back for reverse sweep, and they have some big movers this week as well. It always seems like when we get to these, there's some sort of large shuffle that happens with at least one team. Enable, Pacman, is there any team you can tease out that maybe you were most surprised by for the power rankings this week?
LAT.
It had to be LA Thieves.
Well, let's take a peek at why they might be saying Thieves. Some of the results from this week. Well, Thieves started it with a loss to FaZe, but it was certainly a competitive one. Went game 5. London getting the big upset of the week. Gorillas and Paris continuing to fall short. Day 3, Dallas, another game 5 win for Dallas. Another game 5 win for them. We'll see if they can ever get out of those game 5s. And day 4, well, Thieves coming out on top of Optic Chicago. Maybe a little part of the reason that Enable and Pacman mentioned them as potentially a big mover on the day. And take a look at the stage 3 standings so far. Now that week 2 is finished, LA Thieves are on top of Group B with a 3-1 record. And Toronto, the only perfect record so far, 4-0 for Group A, continuing to look strong. Whereas teams like Paris and Seattle, unfortunately, at the bottom of their groups. And if they don't turn it around, might be heading to the losers bracket run for the 3rd major, which means it's time to take a look at these power rankings as we go into week 3. And well, they're at the bottom of their group, and they're at the bottom of the power rankings. Seattle Surge, Enable, Pacman, you have them in 12th place, and maybe they won't stay there, Pacman. We know that team changes come through. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't expect them to stay there, but in current form, they didn't even put up a fight. All the other teams, win or lose, it was competitive for everyone else. Royal Ravens, everyone, Florida. Seattle just did not look like they were on the same page. It looked like they were done. It looked like they knew a team change was coming, and they were just going through the motions and getting these last matches out of the way. They did not look good. They were not closing. They haven't been closing all year, but it wasn't even getting to the point where you could even say that. It was just an ugly weekend. So that's why they're down here in 12th for the time being.
You hate to see it for Octane, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you that one right now. But yeah, I mean, they're 0-3 in stage 3. Haven't looked good. They're 11th overall in the CDL throughout the whole year so far. So obviously, team change is coming. I don't know. I don't think they're gonna be able to do much with a team change. I don't think it was just a loony issue. So first team in the game. Congrats, Sam. You need me.
Whew. Well, Seattle, that's about all you can say. Kind of the biggest news for them, as we have already mentioned. Team change potentially switching things up for them. But Ian, John, you don't seem overly hopeful for them. And we're also not particularly hopeful for Paris. They have not moved out of that 11th place spot. And Ian, you kind of got onto Scraps, Aqua. You got on their case last week, and well, they're still 11.
They're such a weird team. I know I said last week, I was like, you know what? I'm off their train because I was on the Paris hype train the whole time. But I'm back on. But like they have so much potential. We saw them. They got a big win at the end of this last kind of set of matches versus Florida. They're another team similar to Seattle. That's why they're in this spot. All 4 players can't seem to get it together at the same time. Always 1 or 2 players really hitting their stride, and then they have players that are kind of like falling off the wagon again. And so they're just another team that's the bottom of the standings. They're what, 1-2, you know.
Oh no, they're 1-3 now. They're 1-3.
Oh, is it 1-3?
Yeah,
okay.
1-3. They have a 5-10 map record.
Ooh, well, there you go.
Not very good.
You just, I don't even need to say anything more. That's why they're 11. 1-3, 5-10 map record. Hopefully they figure it out though, because I really want to see them do well, and I think they actually can cause upsets and be a pretty solid team moving forward. But they're just not doing it. Just not.
No, they're not. Hopefully it's one of those things where this group just had to learn how to win together. Sometimes it's hard to put together that first one. If it's not the honeymoon thing, then you start out losing a bunch of matches, you kind of lose faith. So hopefully that win helps them turn it around, because I'm not on the hype train like Ian, but I'm in the same boat where I feel like they have the talent, like they have the pieces. All 4 of them are talented. They're all good players, but can they put it together? I don't know. I don't think that they can at this point. I just stopped believing in it. but hopefully this win puts them on the right path. Hopefully I want them to get it together. I hope that this one teaches them what it feels like to win together. Like Tim tweeted out something like, man, it feels good. I almost forgot. It feels good to win. Like, it feels good to get that monkey off your back, and hopefully it helps them progress.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they have not progressed out of the 11th place. But two teams, let's talk about 9 and 10, right? Gorillas goes up 1 from 10th. You have London going up 2 from 12. But does that have more to do with Seattle going down 2? Let's kind of, Gorillas, London, you moved up, sort of, kind of, but you're still on the bottom 4, Ian.
It has a little bit to do with Seattle just looking absolutely abysmal, obviously. But I think for, London moving up to 2 spots, London has had some competitive matches recently in this stage. They beat NYSL. They lost that map 5 to FaZe. And even versus Chicago and LAT, they were able to take a map off of them. So I feel like they're at least competing, and I still don't know if Zaptius is the right move, but they look a little bit more comfortable with him on the team, and maybe they'll put it together. I have more confidence in them than I do Paris and Seattle, honestly, at this point in time, even though I just said I was on the Paris hype train. So they're all, you clump them together. Me and John talk about all the time.
Yeah.
All those teams are just kind of in the same spot. We just put a number in front of them.
Week to week,
they're all like,
I feel like week to week these teams change so much, but they still stay in the same range. You know what I mean? We have them 9 through 12 pretty much consistently. I can't
got
think
a
of a
home
time.
here. Their little neighborhood.
So kind of back and forth. They have good weeks and bad weeks, but at the end of the day, we have them remain here because of the low ceilings that they have. LAG probably is the highest of it. I feel like of these low teams, I'm saying, but I feel like LAG has been putting up constantly tough matches for their opponents. Except even that Toronto match where they got 3-0'd, they went up.
They could have been up 2-0.
Yeah, they could have been up 2-0. They lost around 11 game 2. They got kind of slaughtered in the control, but they look good. They look better than they had in the past. Like with Cheen in place and with their role swap, it looks like it was a good move for LAG. Even though Vivid was their best player statistically.
Right.
We're not in their scrims. We're not in there. We don't see all the pacing things that they see. So we'll see how LAG looks going forward. But right now, that's where they're at.
And Florida, it seems like they're always just kind of hovering around 8th. I know we had Gorillas there, I think, forever. But Florida, 8th place. They did not move. Why is that, John?
Well, they just lost the one match. And Havoc isn't playing well, but it's kind of hard to move them lower because they definitely have the most potential. They have so much more potential than all those teams below them. So whenever I look at moving them down in these lists, it's like, nah, because I don't really believe in these other teams getting any consistent win against the people above them. I see Florida going out there and just beating the rocker, right? Like Large Wake just comes out and he's just better than all these people. Like, I see that. I just don't see that from the other teams. But Florida just has these issues that I don't even know if they can put their finger on it. They tried to switch out Slack for Havoc. I don't think that's had any impact on their results. If anything, it's been a negative one. Slack wasn't playing poorly. Maybe not been what they needed, but Havoc wasn't the fix, at least for the time being. Maybe his vocal leadership means something to the team, but as of now, Florida's just down here, but they always have that potential to beat these teams.
Yeah, I think they definitely have that X factor on the occasion, Ian, that they can actually get to it.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely can. I think the biggest thing is they're just hit or miss. Like, they 3-1 Minnesota, and they got 3-1 by Paris the next match. I think John, what he said was correct in the sense of I don't think Slack was, like, the issue. Like, he definitely wasn't helping, but it wasn't like, oh, all we got to do is swap Slack out for someone and we'll be good to go. I think their problems are way bigger than that when we look at, like, the IGL role. Also, I think it might be time they try to just move Big Wake to the main AR. For some reason, I feel like Skies and Big Wake together just look really uncomfortable. And I think they have the potential because of the pieces on their team where they can make a move and, like, they have star players, right? So they can trade some pieces around and kind of build this team. I want them to go out, do some, I'm not going to say who, but make some moves because they have the highest potential.
Get to work in the front office.
Yeah. They have the highest potential out of this bottom half of,
I agree.
Of the CDL. Like, they do.
Without question.
But they're like 2 roster swaps away from that. right now, I think. And if they want a chance to really be a contender, it has to happen. Front office got to do something. Ogre too.
So your thing is like give guys away to someone, even though. So you're giving away a beast, but that means you can get.
Well, do y'all want to know? Do y'all want to hear what I would do
in return? Yeah, go for it.
Okay, let me break it down real quick. First things first, they acquire Puke from Dallas Empire. I saw on Twitter that Hastro said he would be willing to let Kyler go. Obviously, he's not going to give him away for free, but to a team that Kyler wants to go to. So I think Kyler says, I want to go to Florida. Florida, they want me. They buy him out. They acquire him, however, because I don't think they would realistically be able to trade anyone, because they're not. You're not going to trade Big Wake. You're building a team around here. If I'm the GM, if I'm Ogre 2. And then I think you either go the LAG for a player like Vivid, try and make a trade, maybe trade Skies. Maybe trade Skies, let him run main AR or LAG. I don't know, but you get Vivid. So then you have Huke Vivid, your sub duo, Big Wake running the main. And then I think they hit up LAT, get that boy Slasher out of the pine, and you're rocking Big Wake, Slasher. Yeah, and no, but here's the thing. I think you do the same thing similar that 100T did back in Black Ops 4 too, where you make Slasher kind of run that flex role, let Big Wake run that main role. I really do. I think it would be like Slasher's got a chip on his shoulder. Let him prove himself again. But I think that team would be nasty. Awakening, Slasher, Vivid, Hugh. Oh yeah, yeah. And then you got Neptune as the fifth man. I think you give Neptune some time in challengers. He needs to put together.
All right, that's fair enough.
I want to see what everyone in the comments has to say about that. Let me know what you feel about Ian's 1,000 IQ plays for Florida. Who knows? Maybe it'll happen.
He needs some lessons. He just hit me up. Yeah. I'll tell him.
I know that we did see some interesting folks from Florida who following each other. I think President followed. They followed each other back. I saw some rumors about that. Let's talk about Dallas, the team that Hook is on the bench for right now, going down one place. This is the first time one of those top three teams has fallen down into the bottom six in our ranking. So Dallas, Pacman, they are in 7th. You moved them down one. Why is that?
This one is because we had to move LAT up. We just had to. They've just been too consistent, too good. So I mean, it just bumped everyone down. And Dallas is in a place where, I mean, they're not bad. None of these teams are bad. There's just a lot of talent in this league, but they're not scary like the other teams are above them. They're not. It's not the same Dallas that we're used to seeing, right? It's not that team. Even when you watch them now, they're not as good as they were with Kyler yet. I'm sure they have something up their sleeve. I'm sure that they'll get there, but right now they're not there. And I know that the people on that team are not comfortable with being a top 6 team, top whatever it may be. So I know it's going to be whatever they do when they get to work and doing this, it's going to be great for them. It just has to take a little bit of time, and we'll see whatever move they come up with. But right now, 7th place.
7th for them. Yeah, I mean, it's partially due to LAT, like John said, but they just, with Fellow, they haven't looked great. I mean, they lost 3-0 to Toronto, obviously. The series was still close. The maps were close. The series wasn't when you look at it in the big picture. And then versus LAG, they went to map 5. Yeah, they dominated in map 5. Fellow took over completely. But against a team like LAG, you want to be able to just kind of stomp them out. You don't want to have these close series that we've been talking about that Empire's been having. So I don't think benching Huke for Fellow has made much of a difference at all. I don't know what Empire is thinking, Katie. If they are gonna let Huke go, if they're gonna if they're actively trying to get another player and not have Fellow in the starting lineup, or what. But they need to do something, because they're just slowly falling away. It's like they just keep slipping down the rankings, and they're not really showing any improvement to really get themselves back into the mix, into the conversation for me.
No, I think that's a great point. And case in point, that's why you guys have them at 7th, the lowest they have ever been. We'll see if they can stop that decline. Maybe that'll start in the upcoming week 3. Okay, well, Optic and Rocker. Optic back in 5th, moving down 1 place. Rocker moving down 3. So 5th, 6th, Rocker. Ian, is that just another impact of Thieves moving up so high, or why do you got 5th, 6th, Optic, and Rocker?
I mean, yes and no. It is, but Rockers also looked a little sketchy lately.
A little off. A little
off. I mean, they're currently 1 and 2. I thought they legitimately. I mean, they were first going into this major 2. They were first in their group, and it just feels like they don't have that like fire under them for some reason, because they legitimately look like a top 4, top 3 team to me, and it just doesn't seem like. They just look off.
Was that honeymoon?
I don't know if I want to go as far as honeymoon yet, but we have seen it in the past from multiple teams where, that is a legitimate possibility, where maybe their honeymoon was really hot and this is kind of where they actually like their range, but it's too soon to tell, in my opinion. They did lose to, Toronto, best team in the game right now. It's just that Florida loss for me. Is what sticks out. Is like with how Florida's been looking. If you're Minnesota, if you want to be a top 4 team in the rankings, we had them at 3. You can't be losing that series. You just can't.
No, and it's kind of the way they lost. Like the way they lost to the Toronto team, they put themselves in position to win, and they just didn't close. They didn't clutch up. It's kind of weird because the Rocker team that we saw in first place, I don't even know if it was. They kept winning close matches. They were winning. They were clutching up. They were doing what they needed to do.
Right, like they had the ice.
Yeah, they had the ice. They had something going where it was like they made me a believer. They definitely made you a believer. And it's when you watch a team and you get this kind of feeling that you can't put your finger on, where he's like, all right, this team right now just feels different, and they don't have that feel for me right now. They don't have that X factor for whatever it may be, and maybe they're just waiting for the majors. Maybe this is just the regular season, right? They're 1 and 2. They're gonna have to turn up. I'm not really sure about their schedule going forward.
Waiting for the major, boys. If you don't get
you never know.
Win.
I know. But sometimes when it seems like that, you don't treat the regular season the same.
It is, but hey, I'm gonna give it a buck. Minnesota. Wait, we're still talking about Minnesota, right? Or am I tripping?
No,
okay,
Minnesota.
Good. Minnesota cannot be thinking like that.
They can't. It's weird though, because once they formed, they picked up Sandy, they instantly started winning. So then they had this winning mentality going forward.
You need to be decorated before you could throw that. Nah, I'm just worried about the major. I ain't regular. Just talking practice.
No, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. But the feel of the game is going to be different after you've just won all these games.
That's fair.
And that's all I'm saying.
That's fair.
So we'll see. And now they're again to that point, since they're 1 and 2, where it's major time. Now we have to win all our matches, and I expect to see an improved Rocker next week. And if I'm right about that, it's just a different type of intensity that you take to every single situation. And we'll see.
Well, we will see. And then, John, what about subliners then? They flopped with Optic. They flip-flopped. They are in 4th place now, and they went 1-1 on the week. They did lose to London, but then they came back and they 3-0'd Seattle. So 1-1 on the week, you have them bumped up to 4th.
The 1-1 on the week, for this team in particular, I'm just kind of like tossing this week out of the window. I'm just going to say overall, they look like they're playing better. Like they lost to London. London played well this week. That win over Seattle, I'm going to do the same thing though. Seattle was just playing like dog shit. So it's hard to say, but I still believe that this New York team has a really high ceiling. When I watch them, it's a lot of talent. It's a lot of talent. And if they're on the same page, they're extremely scary. They can beat anyone. Clay's playing really well. They can be dominant. It's just up to Mac to really get control of that second AR role to really settle in, and then New York can just be up there competing with Toronto and FaZe consistently.
So you think, Ian, they have just like a little bit of an edge over an Optic? Maybe that's why there's like that 4-5.
I do, and I'll tell you what. I don't think they're as talented as Optic. It's nothing against New York. They're all great players, especially with the recent pulling Hydra to the starting lineup. But the biggest difference for me is they just play the game. They understand the game better. So at the end of the day, I'm going to be more confident in New York really making a run and kind of challenging Toronto, challenging FaZe than a team like Chicago, just because they just don't seem disciplined on the map. They don't, to me. And I think that is going to bite them in the ass when they play these top teams. Whereas New York, they play very well together. And if they don't win these series, if they don't win a series, it's because it's either like a trap game, like we saw, or they just have players on the team that aren't playing, they're not playing good. They're cold that series. Yeah. Optic, you're never like, oh, they was getting outgunned.
Never.
Like when they're losing these series, you're like, what in the hell are they doing on the map? And so I think Optic,
mistakes, for sure.
Yeah, blatant mistakes. Yeah. And I think that the biggest thing is the statistic that I said, where their last 14 respawn maps versus the top 7 CDL teams in the league, they're 3-11. That just can't happen for a team like Optic. So New York right now, the better team.
No question about it, honestly. Like if you look at it just gameplay wise, Optic looks a step slow on the map. They don't look as sure in their moves, and I don't know what it is, because talent wise, I feel like maybe it's FaZe, Dallas, Toronto, maybe those 3 teams. I'm not even sure about Toronto. I just think Toronto's teamwork is ridiculous.
Fantastic.
But like no one has more talent than Optic. Have you actually watched like Dashy shoot? Formal shoot. Yeah, they don't miss bullets. You know what I mean? They don't miss bullets. Seth's reaction time has always been just ridiculous, like legendary. And then Envoy. Like they don't get outskilled. They just need to figure it out. And I don't even know if they can. It's been a consistent thing, like Ian said, for a long time.
It's just historically always been their issue. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point to bring up. And maybe that, who knows, maybe that and a combination of things, settling them in at 5th, Subliners 1 up into 4th place. But the biggest mover of the week, Thieves, up 4 places. And they did start out the week with a loss, but it was a game 5 and it was a close series against FaZe. And well, they 3-1'd Optic, the team we were just talking about. Y'all bumped them up. Kenny's looked incredible. Ian, Thieves in the top 3. Why do you got them in 3rd place?
They look good. They're 3-1. They look good, Katie. That's all it comes down to. They're 3-1 currently. I was excited when I saw them make this move originally and in the stage 2 major. Now that they've had more time under their belt with Kenny at that main, he looks fantastic. He is, in my opinion, a top 3 AR player in the game right now. I mean, arguably he's a top 5 player in the game right now with the way that he's been playing these last couple of weeks. He's completely just changed the dynamic for how people view LAT, and they look like they're on the same page finally. They're having fun with it. I saw them. They lost the S&D the other day to Optic, and Kenny was laughing, which you could look at that, depending on how you view it. But like the fact that they weren't in their own heads and down, they were having fun with it. Over it. Yeah. They're like, okay, whatever. We lost this map. Let's get to it. They handle business from there on out. And they're a team that I think has been improving the most as of lately. I guess unless you want to slot Toronto in there too, but Toronto's best team in the game right now. They have the most potential out of the teams in this top 4 range, top 5 range, I would say. And I know that could be me being a LAT stan, but I just truly think with the players on that team, and you have someone as talented as Kenny on the main AR, I think their ceiling is unmatched.
Okay, I mean they're playing phenomenal Call of Duty, and I believe it's 5-2 or 6-2 in their last 7 or 8 matches. Their 2 losses being one to Toronto, who won the major, and then this really previous close one to FaZe, and it was 3-2. So their last 2 losses, we'll say the Toronto one 3-0, but it was a while ago. Since then, their only losses are really close 3-2 to one of the best teams, the best performing team throughout this entire title so far. So they're just really strong. Like there was a point where we said they were already looking good before last week, but we said going into it that this was going to be the most important week for the team, and I think they came out of it really strong. It looked really good. It looked really good, and they didn't have that quality win. They got a quality win now versus Optic, even though it's a loss. There's all types of different losses. As far as losses go, that was a quality loss versus FaZe.
Yes.
It looked strong. And honestly, it just probably showed them what they need to work on. So I have actually a lot of faith in the LAT team going forward, up to Venom I believe it was some stat like in their 2 losses, he has a 0.77 or something like that. And in all the wins, he has a 1.1. That could be his role. Obviously, when you lose, things are going poor. So once he figures out and gets that confidence for those versus those top teams that beat him, I think it's going to be pretty good. LAT's looking really good.
Yeah, they are looking good. And case in point, they are currently 3-1, top of Group B, heading into week 3. But 1-2, another set, they did not move. And I don't know if you guys have a ton to say about it, Ian, but Toronto FaZe first and second. You didn't change them from last week.
Let's just play what we said last week about the two. I mean, both teams look great. They're the top 2 teams in the game. Toronto's been just continuing their streak. They're the hottest team in the league right now. And while FaZe isn't the top dog, they're still right there. And they're beating all the teams that they're supposed to beat, whether it be a little bit closer than they would have liked or hoped. But yeah, I mean, those are just the top 2 teams. There's not much else that we can talk about, really.
They clutch up. They play the best. They have a lot of talent.
They come in, they do their business, they leave, and that's it.
Yeah. Wow. They play, they won, it's over with. Next match. And that's what you expect to see out of the top teams. Obviously, we never want to take away from the work that these teams do to remain in those spots. But as a viewer, you get what you expect. They come, they take care of business, and we're on to the next. And Toronto's doing that better than anyone else in the world right now. So that's why they're the number 1 team. And FaZe is sitting there right behind them, both your major champions so far.
That is true. No surprise then that we have them at 1-2, especially considering their performances, and Toronto continuing to look absolutely incredible. We can't wait to see how they look in week 3. Let us know what you think. But Thieves, congratulations, the biggest mover and breaking into the top 3. We'll see how everything shuffles up after week 3.